Welcome, foolish mortals, to Halloween treats presented by the Lookback Machine. For the entire month of October, we bring you 31 episodes on 31 flicks. So sit back and relax on your broomstick. We have blood-curdling boogeyman and sadistic serial killers. From castles to were-rabbits to spine-chilling spine-tinglers. Oh, but that's not all. It's only a bit. There's also Dahmer, Dracula, and Wallace and Gromit. So turn down the lights and turn up the sound. And ready your heart, for it's about to pound. Because there's Halloween film history abound. Happy Halloween from the Lookback Machine.
Richard Stanley was living in exile, which is far more befitting a political revolutionary than a Hollywood filmmaker. But Stanley had a perfectly good reason to be hiding in a mountainous region of France, Dr. Moreau. It is now a legendary, ill-fated production that included violent storms destroying sets and a prickly Val Kilmer in the midst of a divorce questioning every part of Stanley's vision down to how the film was to be edited during the shooting. Stanley was truly in the midst of madness. Due to set turmoil, Stanley was removed from the picture by the studio, which only increased the overall calamity. The film would lose days of shooting over a pissing contest between Marlon Brando and Val Kilmer. The actors didn't want to leave their trailer until the other person left their trailer, resulting in no one leaving their trailer. Marlon Brando also wanted his character to be revealed as a dolphin at some point in the film's duration. Meanwhile, Richard Stanley had holed up in a forest not too far from the shoot. It's all highly recorded in the 2014 documentary Lost Soul, the doomed journey of Richard Stanley's island of Dr. Moreau.
Again, it was a series of coincidences. I tried to escape out into the rainforest and had completely cut free from the project and had been had found my way as far into the rainforest as I could possibly get, and away from other human beings, and was living under a tree at the edge of a river in the tableland out in Queensland, looking after a couple of dingo pups. Had my girlfriend with me and a big bag of marijuana. I'd been paid off from Island of Dr. Moreau and had no reason to ever necessarily work again. So I had no real interest in re-engaging with the world, and literally we were out in the middle of the back of beyond, and I saw a light in the forest. There was a fire further downriver, and I remember thinking, wow, there's people out there, and I didn't know there was anyone else out here. And then I walked down the river afterwards to see what the fire was, and saw that there was like 3 or 4 people crashed out around the campfire, and they turned out to be extras from the island of Dr. Moreau. Then they proceeded to tell me that they were shooting the movie again, and that things were way worse on the project than I'd ever been before, and that I should come back and take a look. And that if I saw what was going on, I would feel a lot better about myself. As there were extras from the island, they had insanely, they had these Stan Winston foam latex dog heads and hands and bits of costume. So I literally went with them and drove back in a van and stuck on the dog costume and went and took a look, which did turn out to be a smart move. It made me feel better, and it also, I guess, gave the story one more twist, which propelled it all into something so metatextual that it's not quite like anything I think that's ever happened to anyone in the film business before. It's that business of being suddenly trapped inside your own movie, no longer in control of it and unable to stop it. which is a bit like how it feels when you go from, say, a lucid dream to a fully blown nightmare. A nightmare being like made of stuff that is kind of familiar to you, but it's all in the wrong order and all happening in a way that you're not in control of. But yeah, certainly a bizarre fucking experience. Then I tried to forget about it and go back into the world for a very long time, and it wasn't until David Gregory, the guy who put together Lost Soul, interviewed me for the PR for the support material on the DVD release of an anthology film called The Theatre Bazaar, which I think was all the way over in 2010, about 15 years later, that David asked me what happened on the island of Dr. Moreau and how did I end up living on this mountain in the south of France. And I gave him an answer, which became the main interview that he uses as the spine of Lost Soul. But I was pretty, I guess, I tried not to offend anyone. In the interview I gave, I never named names, didn't name any companies, and I tried to be diplomatic. And then the story was nonetheless so crazy that David felt compelled to go away and fact check it. As he found more and more people who were prepared to talk to him about what had happened on Moreau, and the story didn't go away. The fact that it was so metatextual to begin with, I think, hooked David into making the documentary, which then had the effect of basically pulling me out of self-imposed exile and patching me back into the mixing board of human experience. So, yeah, I guess putting on the dog mask was an important long-term maneuver. Had I not done that, I imagine that I'd probably still be unemployed and not making movies.
However, even the explanation of the inordinate amount of challenges that Stanley faced, it didn't provide him any solace.
Yeah, and I think Lost Soul actually helped other people put Moreau behind them more, because over the course of the 20 years, I guess a general notion had prevailed that whatever had happened on the island of Dr. Moreau, we had all been completely insane and had somehow gone too far, and the thing had been a complete nightmare from hell. But I think looking at Lost Soul, folk realized that they got a better idea of the circumstances, of the incredible number of different factors that were at play at the time, and to a large extent, what went down on Dr. Moreau was simply a matter of kind of corporate logic or corporate necessity. I mean, I had no ability to honestly stay on that movie beyond the point when I couldn't bring Brando to the floor, not having any money of my own or any real investment in the thing. And these days it seems like people change horses on the directors on larger projects as a kind of almost a matter of course. It seems like they can't get through a single Star Wars movie practically without changing horses 3 times. I think the Lost Soul gave people a better idea of what the actual stakes had been, and that in truth it wasn't down to me or really anyone else completely losing their minds on the floor. And most of what happened happened before Marlon Brando even showed up.
Stanley would make a semi-return to filmmaking with shorts and documentaries, but he was far away from the prestige projects he once helmed. And things would get worse. He then hit rock bottom, having been evicted from his place of residence.
Yeah, the movie came just at the darkest possible moment, when I was getting crushed by my arch enemies, who at this point in time are a multinational mining corporation, who decided to vaporize our local sacred mountain. And so I got into this sort of Avatar, sub-Dune type plot line where obviously we were going to get massacred, and got myself evicted from the place I was staying in for 10 years on the mountain. Now, I'd always secretly imagined that the opportunity might arise. It was just that the the forces were so aligned against me that the chances of raising funding on anything were pretty slim. Over the 20 years, I put together a lot of different screenplays, pitches, and treatments, but nothing ever went anywhere. I guess after 2 decades, I'd pretty much finally reached the point where I'd pretty much given up trying, which is always a good point to get to. In some kind of weird Zen way, and it was also pretty clear that the world that I'd created for myself, that I ended up in on top of the mountain, was coming to an apocalyptic end, and some kind of alternative plan needed to be figured out.
And in completely giving up, Stanley did things like speak out against Harvey Weinstein and predicted the Me Too movement itself.
This is Richard Stanley, writer, filmmaker, anthropologist, whatever. And you're listening to Without Your Head. Yeah, Harvey's got some Bill Cosby type issues, which I believe will come to the surface at some point.
Oh wow!
But he's such a powerful man that it hasn't got out. But Harvey's always been a bit of a predator.
And in this freedom of mind, he wrote Color Out of Space. It's probably a good time to point out that Stanley is a strong believer in the occult, which started at an early age.
Yeah, my mom was kind of, I guess, prepared me for the for 2020 and the times we live in the same way that Sarah Connor prepares her kids. So she indoctrinated me to this stuff before I had any real choice in the matter. And that I must have encountered Lovecraft already by the time I was 7 or 8. I know I'd gotten through Bram Stoker's Dracula and had a good working knowledge of the Hammer horror movies and things by the time I came to Lovecraft. So my mom was feeding me this kind of material from the age 4 on upwards.
And it was the occult that he believes set things in motion for his unlikely return to filmmaking.
No, it's a part of the world we live in. So, there was a different thread on color on basically the strongest sort of occult thread that ran through the movie, apart from it being an adaptation of a story from 1926 that has its own baggage, was I had a little bush shaman sorcerer friend, a character named Urani, who lived out here in the mountains, who I'd known for 30 years and was close to my closest friend. And Urani did a ritual about 4 years ago. He was one of the only people I know who actually placated Lovecraft's deities. He had a French language copy of the Necronomicon. It was a French translation of a hoax Necronomicon, because all the official Necronomicons in distribution are essentially fraudulent. But I never had the heart to tell him. He was the only person I knew who celebrated Yog Sothoth Day every year. Because I thought it was cute that he was celebrating Yog Sothoth Day, we supported him in this endeavor, made Yog Sothoth pinatas and reached out to local children for village participation in Yog Sothoth Day. That Yog Sothoth Day 4 years ago, Urani did an invocation to Yog Sothoth, got me to read something from a piece of paper saying that we wanted Yog's help to bring the works of Howard Phillips Lovecraft to the screen and to every other available media platform, and to help the old ones break through into this world. And we have a video recording of this ritual. It was from 4 years ago, where a storm starts to develop halfway through, and then it starts to rain more and more heavily. You could hear the sound of the rain on the mic. And we all thought it was kind of a joke. But 4 years on, pretty much every single person in that ritual is either dead or something terribly bad happened to them. Urani died just a couple of weeks before color started going. And I got evicted from my place. Literally, even the place where the ritual was performed was destroyed. The crag where the trees have been cut down, and there's been bad things have happened for pretty much everyone involved, I think, except for the fact that the thing he asked for got done. The movie inexplicably got greenlit. Even more inexplicably, now it's going to be a trilogy. There's a sequel follow-up already in development. The sequel follow-up is an adaptation of the Dunwich Horror, one of Lovecraft's classic stories. And of all the Lovecraft stories, the Dunwich Horror features Yog Sothoth. So in about 2 years' time, we will now have to actually bring on Yog. It will happen. The thing will manifest. Which was a series of coincidences and funny little accidents. I think it was Urani's crazy prayer was possibly the thing that really set this in motion, if I have to believe it that way. He was the basis for the Ezra character. Under normal circumstances, I would have tried to cast Urani as himself, but as he was dead by then, I had to get Chong to play him instead. Yeah, no, it's a creepy thing. This whole thing is possibly Urani's fault, the little bush sorcerer guy, who was himself following a paperback French translation of this Necronomicon, because Urani kind of started it in some funny way, and it's partly because he went fishing for us. It's like back when he lived for 30 years as a hermit in the middle of nowhere, completely off the grid, and got his Wi-Fi and everything else from solar panels. And he tried to warn people about what he felt was a portal to another world or a gateway to hell by hanging video box covers to trees in the area. The first I came across him, I noticed usually 1980s, early 80s, late 70s Italian horror movies, which he'd modified the box covers with felt tip marker pens, and then he'd left them hanging on trees and fences in the area, often with bits of Barbie dolls or other kinds of fetishes. Seeing these covers from Lucio Fulci's The Beyond and different Dario Argento movies pinned to trees in the area caught my attention, and I wanted to know who the fuck was doing that and what it meant, who was responsible. Gradually brought me into his circle. Yeah, in a perverse way, I could blame him for putting the whole thing together. Yeah, the script had been floating around a few years. Color Out of Space was, I think, written about 6 years before we actually made it. Like so many screenplays, I had no particular faith that color would eventually make it all the way through, because it was a pretty crazy script. It was initially written on commission for the impresario of a concrete company in West Virginia, who had put up the money for an anthology project I'd worked on. And the same guy suggested that if we wrote a screenplay set in a single location, set on a farm deep in the forest and based on an H.P. Lovecraft story, that they might be able to put up the money for it. And that gave me the incentive to actually sit down and blast the thing out. Unfortunately, by the time I'd finished writing it, the folk who had originally encouraged me were no longer in business. By then had gone bankrupt and had gone into rehab. So there were no takers for the screenplay once it was completed.
And of course, if you summon the powers of witchcraft to help you make a film, there's only one actor the spiritual world will send to save you: Nicolas Cage.
And it floated around Hollywood, I guess, about 6 years before it ended up in the hands of Spectrevision, who managed to get it into Nick's hands during the shooting of Mandy. No, I figured I was going to have to direct it. It was there were a couple of times when I thought about stepping away, and but ironically, no one else particularly wanted to direct it. A few different folk read it, and once they realized that everyone died, that the film spiraled into complete madness and insanity mostly, they said, "Yeah, that's very nice. Have you got anything else?" So color just sort of sat there smoldering for a bunch of time and needed its moment. Yeah, the actual process was a bit longer. I believe that the subject of Color Out of Space was first raised on the Mandy set by the producer Josh Waller, who produced Mandy as well as Color. And I think Nick was talking about how much he wanted to do another family movie, and how the family dynamic was his favorite sandbox. At the same time, it was known that Nick was a Lovecraft fan and had his own set of Arkham House originals of Lovecraft's work. Josh basically said, well, the script is it's a family drama and it's a Lovecraft movie, and pressed it into Nick's hands. Nick tells a story on the making of documentary, saying that Josh got him to sign an agreement on a napkin at the time, which sounds like Josh. It's the sort of thing that probably happened. Then I didn't hear much else for a few months after that. And to finally clinch the deal, what happened was the Spectre partners literally got in their car and drove from Los Angeles to Las Vegas. Where Nick lives, they managed to corner Nick at a bar in Las Vegas, literally dialed my phone number on a handset and passed him the handset to make absolutely certain that the call happened, that we spoke, and the whole thing was a done deal, which is, when I got the 2 a.m. phone call from Nick in Las Vegas, saying how much he liked the script, but mostly talking about the hot pink mantis. There was a Dayglow hot pink mantis that actually wasn't in the script, but appeared prominently in the lookbook accompanying the script. So I guess this image of the heat vision mantis must have jumped out at Nick in some way. And we spent pretty much the whole of that first phone call talking about the mantis. I recall afterwards saying to the Spectre guys, yeah, but what was that about the mantis? And I'm saying, no, don't worry about that. That's not important. He was probably just testing you. Then, like, when we spoke again about 2 weeks after that, again, we went straight back to the fucking mantis again. The second phone call, all about the same thing, saying if we didn't have the money for it, she had friends who would put up the wherewithal, but there had to be this mutant hot pink mantis in the film. So, yeah, I came off the second call saying, no, we're going to have this bug. And if I'm going to put it into the script, it's going to have an arc, which means it's going to have at least 3 scenes. No, I never got to the bottom of that. I half suspected it was had some kind of totemic value, but by the same token, it could just have easily have been the logo of a friend's casino, or I have no idea. Nonetheless, I'm very glad that he provided the impetus for that to happen, because the film could always use more monsters, and any opportunity I could get to scratch a bit more wherewithal back and put it into the VFX and the FX budget made me happy. So that gave me carte blanche to go ahead and create one hell of a hot pink alien mantis from.
Pink Mantis aside, Cage was also fascinated with a demonstration that Stanley undertook during the rehearsal process. And I remember he took 2 rocks, and he brought blood from the stone, and I thought it was wonderful. I said, well, I think we could speak the same language.
Okay, yeah, those were meteorites. On day 1, when we assembled to start going through the script, I brought 2 meteorites with me, given that the alien meteorite in Color Out of Space is kind of the inciting incident and the motivating force. I thought I would bring a couple of samples of alien ore of some parts of Lovecraft's Great Outside to the reading and plunk them down on the table. And these were 2 hyperdense meteoric aerolite, basically of a very, very, very dense form of iron, which have the property of not rusting. They don't tarnish, but remain smooth and dark over the course of the millennia. But when you bring them together and rub the 2 stones, they secrete a ferrous solution, 99% pure iron, that resembles blood. So the stones have a habit of bleeding. My usual shtick is, they tell you can't fly or you can't breathe underwater, just like they tell you can't get blood from a stone. But I'm here to tell you that they're wrong. And we are getting blood from a stone and more. So yeah, we launched in with the meteors, and there's an ancient tradition of I guess meteor worship. You can find meteoric iron at the core of a lot of religions, like the black stone of the Kaaba in Mecca that every Muslim has to align themselves towards twice a day when they kneel in prayer. These different rocks from space. I mean, there was a statue of the goddess in ancient Rome carved out of another gigantic meteoric aerolite, which had been brought in a barge up the Tiber and was installed in a temple in Rome on the site where the Vatican is now, again worshipped for a huge amount of time. So I figured the meteor in our movie had an important godlike presence. So I wanted it to be part of the reading.
Cage plays Nathan Gardner, an alpaca farmer trying to hold his family together as forces from beyond are twisting his reality. His psychotic breakdown leads him to repurposing a voice he once used in Vampire's Kiss, modeled after his father, August Coppola, a professor of comparative literature at Cal State Long Beach.
He mentions in color his father's intellect. I can still remember my father's intellectually abusive voice. Yeah.
I can still hear his intellectually abusive voice in my head. You're never going to be a painter, Nathan, so you just get the fuck out of my sight, Nathan.
The famous creepy voice that Nick deploys in color and in Vampire's Kiss.
Alva, there is no one else in this entire office that I could possibly ask to share such a horrible job. You're the lowest on the totem pole here, Alva. The lowest.
It's also nearly always linked to a hand gesture. Like he's usually doing something goopy with his hand at the same time as he comes on with the voice, which it's kind of what we've been calling the dad voice. In some elements of it in color, certainly in the last third as things go really haywire, I think starts to resemble the commander-in-chief.
I'm not going to give you a question. Can you stay categorical? You are fake news. Sir, go ahead.
There's definitely, as compared to what Nick's doing in Vampire's Kiss, in color, there's a distinctly Trumpish element to that creeps into it sometimes.
What the fuck are you talking about? Nothing has been fucking this place up. You know, I've had it with your drama, Lavinia. So do me a favor and get the fuck out of my sight, okay? No, actually, I'll save you the trouble and get the fuck out of yours.
The story that I've got and the story that I've heard is that, to a large degree, it's a caricature of Nick's dad. But yeah, I can't say that with certainty because I never had the privilege of knowing Nick's dad, August Coppola. But that was Nick's Augie voice.
Get the fuck out of my sight, okay?
I think if there's a movie that that came up frequently or more frequently than anything else, it was probably Night of the Hunter. There's quite a bit of Night of the Hunter DNA in Color Out of Space. I know that Nick's a Meacham fan as I am, and that went as far as in the interiors. I even cladded the walls in the bedrooms so that there'd be a slightly more angular Night of the Hunter-esque look to the bedroom interior scenes. And we definitely tipped our hat to Charles Lawton. A lot of the decor, the little white picket fences and things found their way in from the Charles Lawton movie. The energy levels that Nick brings to it are formidable. No idea how he contains that level of just insane creativity, which is ready to come forth as comedy or as psychotic rage. I mean, Nick was never ever late. He was always bang on time. Like the moment, every time I called for Nick and said, "Okay, we're ready," like it would be like invoking like some kind of archangel or guardian demon. He'd materialize within 5 minutes, and blam, would be straight in there. I was super impressed, and the speed with which he's been making movies these days is pretty awesome as well. So I think we're incredibly lucky for Nicolas Cage fans to be living in a period where Nick is really working at the top of his game and is also working really fast, giving us a lot of product to take home. Yeah, so many. Hard to put my finger on a defining moment for Nick. I mean, I guess two Nick moments that stuck in my head. There was a day when we were shooting some of the most emotionally grueling material. I think it's just when he has to shoot his own kid, and we'd been in the shooting inside the attic for days already, and it was a real pressure cooker in the attic with a huge amount of freaky emotions. Jolie encased in rubber and latex under this heavy makeup playing a thing. Because we were like the biggest movie shooting in Portugal, all of a sudden the Portuguese government decided they wanted to come and visit the set. There was a cameo appearance by the Portuguese Minister of Culture, and some government people came down to visit the set, which I had no idea about, nor did the rest of us. But somewhere during the shooting, we suddenly noticed that all the security around the set had been like tripled. There were like suddenly new security people outside, and we weren't entirely sure why. And Nick immediately assumed that they were coming to get him. And I said, no, man, don't worry. Whatever happens, just stay on the set. Maintain eyeball contact. I'm not going to let anyone take you away. And then we realized that was the Portuguese government coming. No, I've had those feelings myself sometimes. You look out the window and you start to feel to notice that suddenly there's like heavy police or presence outside. Some part of one can't help but go, hang on, what's happening here? But yeah, we were all covered Nick was all covered in alpaca blood, and Jodie was under full makeup. The scene we were shooting must have been all but incomprehensible to the visiting politicians, but that was super strange. One of those just surreal moments. The last night Nick was on was awesome as well. Right at the end, he had to come back from the dead as like astro zombie, attack poor Elliot. Even realized until close to the end of the shoot that his character came back from the grave as an astro zombie. He'd done great stuff with Nathan's death scene on the porch when he shot. I think Nick on some level thought that was it. They were saying, no man, you come back from the dead. You're like a zombie on this page. And so right on the night before he had to fly out, he was stuck all night in zombie makeup doing this fight scene with Elliot. So we had to shoot the whole sequence in a very traditional way. Some of it's shot backwards, but just to sell the fight. And so it was there was a very methodical process to the way we were staging the action. Nick was just aching to get through it and get out of there and get on the airplane and fly to his next appointment, which he was overdue on. So between takes, he was improvising the song. He had this insane rap, just a full-on song about what it is to be an actor. He does some of the making of.
Cameras rolling, the lights are on. The director calls action. The director calls cut. Act, act, act. Everybody, act, act, act.
The lights are rolling. The director calls action. Act, act, act. I was super psyched up and was literally singing at Elliot in between takes while throwing him against the wall and then throwing each other against the table and then going back into the song again, which I thought it was fabulous. By the time we'd completed the sequence, he got a standing ovation from the whole crew. Well, possibly the one I enjoyed the most was the headstand. I only wish I could have kept it in the movie. But Nick's a total pro, so he very seldom pulls something out of the bag without telling you, which I'm super grateful for. In that a lot of the of moments that appear to be totally spontaneous eruptions of madness were kind of on the radar from a few months beforehand. One of the very first things Nick did when he committed to the project and we knew we were going forward is he went through the script and he highlighted areas where he felt he could really run with the material. And picked out the scene where he flips out in the car when the car won't start.
You fucking cocksucker! You cocksucker! You cocksucker!
The scene where he trashes the tomatoes after the tomatoes turn out to taste lousy after all.
Are you listening to me?
You know, I did everything I was supposed to do. I followed every fucking rule in the book. In the end, they still fucking taste like shit. So you know what? Fuck that.
There were moments where Nick thought, okay, I can really run with that and do something with it. So he kind of gave me fair warning. So by the time we arrived on set, we kind of knew we were in for fireworks. And my intent generally was to then try to capture what he brought to us as efficiently as possible. And generally, we always got it by take 3. Nick was always totally incredible on take 1 and just would go off like a firework. Then we would see what happened, and we'd usually adjust a little. Usually take 2 would be the one, and sometimes it goes as far as take 3, but seldom further than that. A little, yeah. There were times I admit that much to my surprise, I dialed Nick back. I mean, there was a deliberate move throughout the first half of the movie to keep Nick as subdued as possible, because we knew if we were going to pinwheel into complete psychosis in the second and third act, that we wanted Nathan to be as kind of milky and grey as possible in the opening 20 minutes or half hour. So there was a definite sense of holding back on the big guns. So when something goes particularly far offline, you can feel the powers that be getting nervous, which was something I kind of enjoyed on set. Like, to give you an example, there's a lengthy take in the deleted scenes on color, which I managed to get into the deleted scenes basket on the Blu-ray editions in some countries, where you see a take where Nick starts doing headstands halfway through the take.
Take care of everything, and everything's going to be okie dokie, okay? Right, Jack? You want to do some exercise? Huh?
No, stop it.
You have to get the blood flowing, right?
Okay.
That calms everything down,
baby.
right? Okay. What?
Okay, honey.
You guys both, I want you both to take it easy.
can
Everything's
you just,
good. I'm happy. Aren't you happy?
Chill.
I'm chill. Don't I seem
really
chill?
Acting crazy.
No, I'm not.
It's scaring me.
What's crazy? What have I done wrong? I just said I want to help you guys. Take care of everything. No, I feel pretty.
Can you just be quiet?
I feel pretty damn strong right now. I think I could just almost do like a handstand. Ow! Fuck! Wait. Oh! I know I can do like handstand push-ups somewhere.
It's a scene with Jolie and the kid upstairs where he's trying to reassure them that everything's okay, and she says something like, "Are you sure you're all right?" He says, "No, I'm fine. I've never felt better. Look." Starts doing handstands and headstands and trying to show that he's just fine, which just terrifies them more and more. Now, this was, fully improv. It totally wasn't in the script and didn't stay in the movie. But at the point where Nick did the headstand, I remember my first AD, my first assistant director, Dino, looked at me and gave me this look like, "Do you want to keep going?" And it was like, "Yeah, this is great. Let's keep rolling." That you could hear vibrations in the floor of the set, which is doors closing and opening elsewhere in the production area as different people looking on their video taps go, "Oh my God, Nick's on his head." what's happening? If the lead guy is upside down, well, you know, is the camera still rolling? What are we going to do? Someone should go down there and see what's happening. And then, you know, after about 5 minutes, then a door opens a crack in the background, and you see someone put their head in and whisper something to one of like the second AD, and gradually word comes forward to you that the people are concerned because, you know, Nick's, are we insured for Nick to be standing on his head?
Even when Stanley was given the reins to the film, he still had the lingering PTSD from the Dr. Moreau debacle.
Well, naturally, I was feeling trepidatious because obviously it worked out so spectacularly badly last time. That Island of Dr. Moreau, I think, is probably the second or third worst location shoot of all time. I imagine it probably would have been worse to have been on maybe John Wayne's The Conqueror or Werner Herzog's Fitzcarraldo. But it certainly was not a pleasant experience. So, yeah, again, I was... some part of me was nervous, but another part of me was frankly so skeptical that it took a very long time for me to believe it was really going to happen. The entire project sounded so far-fetched, and we had so little time to try and prepare it. So many people we spoke to flatly said it was impossible. And basically we had 6 weeks to prep the thing. We had to shoot in the end of January to fit a window that Nick had in his schedule, which meant that we had 6 weeks of prep time over Christmas and New Year, which is a crazy time to be putting a movie together, particularly on a low budget. And a lot of people I went out to cast and heads of department just said, "Oh no, mate, you know, if you're giving me a 6-month lead up, sure, but to start last week of January, it's not possible." So the sensation that maybe it was simply physically impossible to pull the thing together to cast it and mount it in time meant that right up to the last minute, I was still wondering, is this for real? No, literally, we didn't get the last piece of the puzzle. Madeline Arthur, who plays Lavinia, the daughter of the family, didn't actually come aboard until about 2-3 days before we started shooting. We were literally about 48 hours away from turning over, and we were still lacking essentially a leading lady. I was feeling like I was trapped in the opening reel of King Kong, and that we were all ready to sail for Skull Island, but no lead lady. And we got Maddie. We got very, very lucky and got Maddie at the 11th hour, and she literally flew in from Canada, and we took her straight from the airport into a rehearsal with Nick and Jolie and the other principal cast members, and fitted her for wardrobe during the rehearsal, and then sent her from the rehearsal to the Portuguese horsemaster to start learning how to ride the fucking stallion. And then she got from the horsemaster to the hotel. But yeah, up until then, there was still a sense of healthy skepticism where some part of me was thinking, no, this isn't really going to happen. Yeah, don't get overexcited. Don't overthink it. Just go along with it and see how it develops. So I think right up to day one, some part of me was thinking this is going to be a trick. And even when I got to the floor on day one, I was still thinking, okay, you know, what's going to happen here? Will they secretly have like Panos Cosmatos waiting in a cupboard to replace me, or where's the catch? So they must have been trepidatious. I think they're too polite to say so, but they surely must have been. I mean, it's a completely weird thing to do to find some guy, dude who hasn't actually worked in more than 2 decades, has been parked on a mountain somewhere, to bring them in to direct your movie. There must have been a lot of conversation behind the scenes. I was very pleased that once we started going, I discovered there was still some, maybe director's software in my head, which was essentially telling me what to do. That some instinct was still saying, okay, camera's over there now, then we're over here. And something was telling me the shots. And I think the first 2-3 days I was a bit cautious. And then after everyone started seeing the footage we were getting, and the first scenes started coming together, I think then there was a growing sense of excitement as we all realized that we had something and that it was actually working.
Color Out of Space currently holds an 86% on Rotten Tomatoes, and Stanley has taken to calling it his revenge tour.
Certainly been surreal and dreamlike, I would say. A lot of it's felt also like vindication, not just in terms of my own revenge tour, but it's been kind of H.P. Lovecraft's revenge tour as well. Definitely, yeah. No, it's been quite satisfying. That's for sure. I mean, it's been a joy to actually have a movie in cinemas again, and it's certainly was a huge relief to be sitting in packed auditoriums and hearing people laughing and gasping and groaning with horror and revulsion. It's a very satisfying feeling. And, very unfortunate that it might be the last time that I had that experience for who knows how long, because Color Out of Space was only just finding its legs in the cinemas when the COVID-19 pandemic closed screens all across the world, which meant that we didn't even have a chance to open in some countries. And other countries like the UK, I think we just literally opened a week or a week and a half before everything shut down. So Color ended up being the last movie a lot of people saw in cinemas. Yeah, so I'm kind of sorry about that. I had no idea when we were making it that it was going to bring down the curtain on so many auditoriums. And kind of a little bit of a cursed movie. And I hope that we don't have another apocalypse the next time we do an installment in this ongoing saga. In the words of our lead character, a dream you dream alone is just a dream. A dream you dream together is reality.
Thanks for listening to Halloween Treats, presented by the Lookback Machine. Stay tuned for the entire month of October for an episode every single day till November.